Are you a small business owner as a freelance writer? Well, my computer's in this frame. There we go, live. So, are you a small business owner as a freelance writer? This is something that I think a lot of freelance writers end up making mistakes on. And that's because they start thinking of themselves as like, oh, I'm just a writer. Or they start thinking of themselves as like, oh, I am a freelance writer. I do this thing. And that's not really what it is. So as a freelance writer, you are a small business owner. Let me just cut to the chase and give you the quick yes. Like, yes, you're a small business owner. You can create an LLC, you get a business bank account, you are running a business, you're doing the marketing, the sales, the writing, the invoicing, all the little pieces that go into being a small business owner. I think that mistake there that freelance writers make is believing that they are only doing the writing piece. And I think that goes back to that mindset piece where they're like, oh, I work for this place, right? You don't ever work for your clients. You always work with your clients. So that's the first thing we're going to shift to here is we're going to move from working for our clients to working with our clients. And we're kind of going to go over a few mindset shifts about transitioning from I'm just a writer to I own a freelance writing business. So as a small business owner, that means that you can think about your business in a wider lens than just doing the writing. So I think a lot of beginning and sometimes the mid-level freelance writers that I've spoken to say like, oh yeah, they just said they just need someone to write it. Well, that's usually a big red flag. So if someone is coming in and they're saying, man, we just need someone to write it. If they just needed someone to write it, they could use someone internally to do that, right? If they just needed someone, oh yeah, we just need someone to type this up. We just need someone to kind of figure out this, that, and the other thing, put these little words here. And if they just needed that, they would do someone internally. They wouldn't find someone outside the company and pay them outside money to do it, right? They would find like Jerry over in accounting and say, we just need someone to write it, Jerry. Please go write this, right? It's a big difference here. So when you move from the idea of I'm just a writer or I'm just a freelance writer to I own a freelance writing business, I think it makes you feel a lot more confident. I think it makes you feel like you can build a much bigger business. You can build to six figures and beyond. When you're saying I'm just a writer, your mindset is like, oh, I just do this one piece. And you don't. You run a whole business. You have to do marketing to get clients. You have to do invoicing to get paid. You have to make sure that you're always filling the pipeline. You have to work with tons of different types of people. There's a lot of things in here that are very similar to someone who owns a small business. So when you say I own a freelance writing business, like I hope you're transitioning with me. I hope you're making the transition right now to getting rid of the part where you say I'm just a freelance writer or I just write to I own a freelance writing business. It'll expand your idea of what you're capable of. Like it really changed my life when I learned that phrase. Like I actually learned this from Jennifer Goforth Gregory, where she said she made the switch to I own a freelance writing business, and it really changes your mindset. It gives you a ton of opportunities to really think about where you can take that business, not just your writing, not just the writing piece, but your entire business. Maybe you decide that you want to be an agency model someday. Maybe you decide that you want to have multiple parts of your business, like have coaching or have courses or do a live stream or, there's a lot more things than just trying to focus in on only the writing. So when we move from one mindset to the other, I think it really opens up your income potential. It gives you a lot of opportunities to look at your business differently instead of just looking at it as like writing project to writing project to writing project to client to client to client, or from magazines to working to businesses. So I'm hoping that when you look at these things and you start transitioning from I'm just a writer to I own a freelance writing business, that'll kind of boost your confidence too. I mean, it feels really, to me, a lot more powerful to say I own a freelance writing business rather than hop in there and say, oh, I'm just a writer. Like, I can't tell you how many times the impression of me telling people like, oh yeah, I'm a freelance writer is way different than me telling someone I own a freelance writing business. Like when I go to conferences, and I've really tried this. I went to conferences and I said, oh, I'm a freelance writer. The reaction to that is way different than telling someone I own a freelance writing business. Like I've tested this with real humans. And when I said I own a freelance writing business, they were like, oh, wow, that's really impressive. And I said, oh, I'm a freelance writer. They were like, oh, okay, that's nice. Like they, the I'm a freelance writer very much gave them the impression of like, I'm starving for every assignment and I'm just trying to get by, and like telling them I own a freelance writing business makes it sound a lot more, like you're doing a lot more things. Like you treat your writing as a business. You treat your clients as they are business partners. There's a lot of different pieces in there that make a really big difference. And I'm telling you, to humans, like it makes a big difference, but to your confidence, to you talking to other people, to the way you feel about how you portray your business out in the real world, on your website, that really boosts your confidence. You got to move to like, I own a freelance writing business. And the small business owner angle, I think, is a really interesting thing for freelance writers to think about. When you're thinking about there were freelance writers I know who were getting small business assistance during the pandemic. Like that was something that they filed for. It was something that they used. Sometimes you can file, like if you're going to do, like here in Texas, if you were going to do unemployment, or you're trying to get benefits over that time period where they gave those out, you could file as just like a freelancer, like a sole business. But there was other loans. Like I know other freelance writers who applied for those small business loans, and I can't remember. I think one of them got one, and then the other one just was like, "Hey, I'm just trying this just to see what happens." So those types of things really matter. If you were going into the pandemic or bad things happen and you're like, oh shit, what do I do? Do I apply for unemployment? Like I'm just a writer. Like there's a very big difference between applying for unemployment as just a writer and getting a small business loan as someone who owns a freelance writing business. Of course, if you're going to get a small business loan, you would have had to already create an LLC. So that's a different story. But there's a big difference in how you make decisions, right? And it's not just with the pandemic. It's not just with financing. It's with how you actually look at it. If you're just kind of, for me, what I've seen for myself and for other freelance writers is the decisions you make as I'm just a writer are very, very different than I own a freelance writing business. I'm just a writer. A lot of times I've seen, and I know this is a generality, but I've seen it in my coaching clients. I've seen it for myself. It's very much like, I need an assignment. I need someone to pay me today. I need this invoice to come through. I'm waiting for a check in the mail. Like, it's all these like one-off things. It's not, man, where would I like to take my business in 2021? Where would I like my business to be in 5 years? What's a business plan? How can I, like, what's my revenue? What's my profit? What are my expenses? Like, the way you think about it as a business owner is very wide. The scope is much wider than someone who's like, I need an assignment, I need a check, I need that, it's very emergency feeling. And I've noticed that, at least for me and people I've coached and other freelance writers I've talked to, the ones that are very much in, I just do the writing, they're stuck in feast and famine a lot. They very much get stuck in this, like, I just need someone to hire me to do writing. I just need this. Like, oh man, and that keeps you stuck in the feast and famine because you're not actually thinking about it as a business. You're not thinking about it long term. You're not thinking about who can I onboard. You're not planning quarterly. A lot of times you're planning weekly, right? Man, okay, I'm finishing my work next week. I need more work. Well, if you were thinking about it as a business, you'd be thinking about it as quarters. You'd be thinking about it as like, when do I owe my taxes? Because a lot of times, as freelancers, we're paying quarterly taxes. We're not paying them just in April, which I've seen a lot of freelance writers get stuck because they're like, oh crap, I owe $5,000 or $10,000 in April, and I didn't plan for that because I was just doing the writing, or I was, trying to get by. So there's a big shift there that it means a lot for your bank account, for your finances, for how much profit you end up. Like people, if you spent any time chatting with me or on this live stream, you know that I'm a big, big fan of profit first. That like changed my business too. So it's not just the mindset shift of I own a freelance writing business. It's also using profit first to see income, expenses, revenue, profit, like taxes, all that stuff in different accounts. So if you haven't read Profit First by Mike Malkowitz, definitely go read it. But there's a lot of different shifts here that come with just the quick shift to I own a freelance writing business. The planning, the analysis. I find that a lot of times people who don't think they own a business, they just do the writing. They're just focused on, okay, well, it's December, what about January? Or now it's January, what about February? And people who think about it being a business, they're like, okay, how was 2020 or how was 2019? How can I do better? How can I analyze my clients, move up, earn more, raise my rates? What are some projects that I'd rather do than not? I don't want to do these things. There's a lot of analysis there because they're treating it like a business. It's something that supports their family or brings in extra income or something they want to scale to like 6 or 7 figures. And they're not sitting around kind of worried about every little chunk along the way. They're planning longer term. They're when you say I own a business, that's not something you turn the lights on and turn the lights off, right? It's not like I just do the writing and like today I'm a freelance writer, tomorrow I work at CVS, and like the next day I, work at a bakery. It's not like that. It's more like I own a business. Where am I taking this business? It feels more serious and it feels like you're making progress. It feels like you're actually making something that will last. So I hope that kind of moves you into that mindset a little bit. And I also wanted to go over just a little bit about if someone says, I opened with this a little bit, but I wanted to go over what someone says if, oh, we just need someone to write it. So if you ever get on a client call and you're ever talking to someone or you're in an email exchange and someone says, oh, we just need someone to write it. Okay, that's a big red flag. We kind of went over this, but their mindset is, oh, this isn't valuable. We don't really care who we're working with. We're probably really caring about how cheap it is because all we need is the writing. Like, they're not able to do it themselves, but they just need someone to write it. So that's a big problem. They don't see value in the content. They're not like, man, I want someone to really do a good job writing this. I really want this to matter to our audience. I want this to bring in sales for our business or help get subscribers or get more app ratings for our new app. It could be any of those things, but they're like, no, we just need someone to write it. We just need someone to pop in, type a little bit. Oh, it'll only take you an hour. Like, I've tried it and it only took me an hour. Well, if you tried it and it only took you an hour, then why are we even having this conversation? Like, why are we both on the phone or why are we having this email exchange if you think it takes you an hour to do it and you couldn't do it? So I think a lot of times if you ever hear something, like for me, if I hear someone, like if I have a conversation with someone, they're like, oh, we just need someone to write it, or we're interviewing 80 writers to just get some writing in, or nope, sorry, like we're playing in the wrong park here. So they're basically like, they're playing baseball, I'm playing football, like it's not going to work. So what you really want is someone to come in and say like, we loved your writing, we want to work with you. Like, they found what they liked. That's what they liked in your writing, and they want to hire you to do that. That's a big difference than just saying like, well, let's put a blindfold on and like basically hope we find someone to just write it. So whenever you hear someone say to you, we just need someone to write it, think backwards from that. What is their mindset that's bringing them in to have that point of view, right? They're not looking for quality. They're not looking for a specific type of writing. They probably can't give you examples if you ask them for them. They're like, no, you just write it. Like, there's a lot of pieces in here that signal that they're not a quality client and they don't really care about creating content that makes a difference or helps their business succeed. They just know that they tried it one time in Word and like it just didn't work out. And after an hour of trying to write it and they knew it sounded like garbage, they're like, oh, we'll just hire someone who's a writer and they'll just quickly do it. No. No. So if you hear that, I definitely recommend, like from my own personal experience and other writers and communities and people I've coached, like just don't. Don't work with people who are like, we just need a writer or we just need this or blah, blah, blah. Like anything where they're saying we just and writer, just don't. So I'm hoping that this little piece, as we're kind of rolling into closer to 2021, will have you thinking about how you're going to operate that business, how you're going to have it go from I'm just a writer or I just have a freelance writing, I don't know what you want to call it, but it's moving from I'm a freelance writer to I own a freelance writing business. And I think you'll really see that it opens up a lot of possibilities and it'll make you feel more like it's a real thing rather than you're just kind of scrambling around being like client to client to client to famine to feast and and moving all these little pieces around. You're actually planning, you're thinking about expenses, you're thinking about how you're going to move all your money around. You're going to think about how you can actually move up to better clients, because now that you have a business, that means you're actually in it. That means you're actually doing the things that make it a business. So that's kind of my spiel today about, are you a freelance writing? Are you a small business owner as a freelance writer? I see we have a few comments. So we have Tommy popping in saying hello. So I'm going to pop that up here. And then we have, I'm going to take that guy down. And then we have Getty in here. So Getty popped in a little bit. He left a comment on the last one. And I'm going to do a quick update as we transition. So I'm going to show you guys. So they're sleeping, but if I get the Treato bag, they've got these cute little t-shirts on today. And I know this is kind of cheesy, but they're adorable. So Charlotte's, let's see if I can get it on camera. Come over here, Charlie. She's like, no, I don't want to. So Charlie says, I solemnly swear that I'm not up to no good. So I always thought that was cute. And Bo says, listen up, fives, a 10 is speaking. Whoop. He's just like asleep. Hey, buddy. There you go. Good job. Good job. Let's see if we can get Charlotte to turn around for us. Just real quick. Can you turn around? Can you show everybody your shirt? Oh, not quite. Well, we'll try next time. We'll try again. All right. So if you guys have any questions, or if you have anything for follow-up, I can go over, I'll go over a few of the questions I get. But if there's any questions, you could pop them in the chat. And I also have a couple of questions that came in from email. So I'm going to hop over and pull those up really quick so that I can make sure that they're all here. Except my computer doesn't want to participate. There it goes. Okay. So I had a question that came in earlier, and it was from Sadia, I think is how she says her name. So it's Sadia or Sadia. I hope I'm saying that right. But she said she currently writes blog posts as a freelance writer, and since it's saturated in a competitive space, she was thinking that she should add another skill set and stand out in the market. And she was thinking about graphic design, but also considering digital marketing. And she asked what kind of complementary skills go with blogging. So for me, what I normally do here is I don't think that, oh, thank you, Gia. Gia just popped in. She said, cute, good puppers. They are cute and good puppers. They've got their little t-shirts on today. You can't read them yet. Maybe some other time, but okay. Back to the question. So for me, I think your complementary skill to blogging is other types of writing. I think that means that instead of trying to do a different niche, because those types of clients operate differently. So when you're going after digital marketing clients, or when you're going after, what did she say? Let's pull back up. She said graphic design clients, like those are different than freelance writing clients. You would approach those sometimes in a different way. And for me, I think rather than trying to add more things to the pot that are difficult skills and things that you have to build over time, I think your better bet is to just learn different types of writing, because a lot of times people are coming to you for a writing package or content strategy, something that you can expand that gives them more writing. Instead of saying like, oh, I do Photoshop and Adobe, and I also do video editing, and I also do graphic design and all these different things. I think it's better just adding to your writing skill set than trying to add like basically apples and oranges and bananas to your fruit salad. Like I think for me, if you're building a writing business, I think you should build on the writing first. I also think that the blogging situation is just changing. I don't think it's so much that it's saturated and competitive unless you're going for smaller end clients. So what I've noticed recently is a lot of people I've been getting inquiries and also clients for long form blog posts, pillar content, and stuff that's like 1,000 to 2,000 words, or they want more ebooks, or they want something that's more dense content wise. So I think in terms of the content that you're creating, if you're doing blog posts and they're getting paid really low and you're thinking it's competitive and all this stuff, I think that means you need to move up to higher end clients who pay more for more quality, like dense, deep content. When you're writing blog posts that are just like 10 ways to do this, or you go to this company and you're like 5 ways to blah, 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 and it's all pretty general content, that doesn't actually help you get better rates. You got to work into clients who are doing specific content that's longer and more detailed and pays better because you're doing a lot more work than just like 10 ways to do this. So I think that if you wanted to do graphic design, you could as a side thing, but I wouldn't use complementary skills. Like I have photo editing and video editing as skills that I've had that I use for different things, but they're not something I ever really sell to my clients. It's not something that like I ever really like highlight. Like sometimes I'm like, I can get images, or I can find some SEO words or do some other things. But I think a lot of times you really want to expand into better, bigger writing. Ooh, we have a question from Gia. So Gia asked, let's see if it'll pop it up. Okay. So Gia said, how do you toggle between the business side and the writing side? So this is a great question. This is a really great question. Thanks for asking, Gia. So for me, they kind of go together. Your business and writing side go together. So for some people, that means that Friday is admin day. That means that they go through all their invoicing. They check in on their business stuff like their finances. They close out old client projects. Like I use Dubsado. So Dubsado helps me manage my calendar, booking clients, my invoicing, my task list, my profit and loss, like all of the things are in Dubsado. So that helps me manage everything pretty much every day. But some people like doing all that stuff on Friday. Basically for me, they kind of go hand in hand. So the business mindset really runs your freelance writing business, right? So your business mindset is like, how am I going to make my quarterly income goals or my annual income goals? And then you're going to be taking your clients, so you're going to go after clients and try to, see if you can find a fit. Like, is this a good client? Are they paying good rates? And then when you have something like, I have Dubsado, when you have a tool like that, you can just check it on the box. It tells you how much income you made. It tells you, like, you can import different accounts so that it pulls from your expenses. So you can see everything in a flash, and I kind of do that to manage them at the same time. But the business side really, like, the one thing that I've noticed for a lot of freelance writers with business is invoicing and getting paid. So whenever I submit work, like if I'm submitting work to a magazine, I just send the invoice when I do that. And I have something for retainers where I tell them like, hey, while we have this retainer, we do 50% of the first month up front, 50% due at the end of the month, and then every following month, I will invoice you on the first of the month, and it's due mid-month. And I think it's net 14 in there. So, but that's already set ahead of time. So that invoicing thing, like I can go in through Dubsado and just tell it, I can set up a schedule that'll just send that invoice on the first of the month, and I don't have to think about it. And I can set it for every first of the month. It'll automatically generate them and just send them out. So that handles a lot of things. And when I'm scheduling client calls or interviews, same thing. Like I have it all set up so it all flows through Dubsado so I can track everything at once. So when I'm toggling between these two sides, I actually don't think they toggle. I actually think they work in tandem together. They are your business mindset that runs your freelance writing. And it changes how you make choices. So a lot of times I found that people that are like, oh crap, I need a paycheck, I'll just take this client. And then they get a really great lead and they're like, oh no, I'm too busy. Like, what do I do? Well, if they were kind of having a business mindset and they were moving into like, okay, well, Q3, I did this, I made this amount of money, or I worked for these types of clients, or I did this type of writing. Now I'm moving into Q4. What can I do? They would know ahead of time that like the client that comes in and they're like, hey, we're willing to pay you $10 a post. You're like, oh no, that's not going to work for me because I have these goals, or I need to buy kibbles for my dogs or whatever. So they work together. I hope that was helpful. And then Getty has a question, so I'm going to pop that up here real quick. So we're going to hope it pops up. There it goes. Okay. So he says, I'm just starting out. I'm still trying to figure out my space. There's so much to learn and do, and I feel overwhelmed sometimes. So we all, like, just gonna put this out there, we all still feel overwhelmed. Like, I feel overwhelmed every time I pretty much come on here. Like, I feel very nervous and overwhelmed about doing this every week. So we all still feel overwhelmed, and that's okay. Sometimes you just have to do it a step by step by step instead of looking at all of the big picture items. So sometimes for me, that means that like it's just, the due date for tomorrow. Like if I'm feeling very overwhelmed and I feel like I have a lot on my plate, it's like, what do I have to do tomorrow? And that means at the end of one day, right, at night, I just say, what's tomorrow? What's on my calendar? What do I need to do? So I think when you're feeling overwhelmed, try to take it step by step. And then when you kind of feeling less overwhelmed, less anxious about things, it's better to kind of look long term. It's better to plan out a little bit further and think more about, the quarterly planning or your annual goals, or like where you would like to be in a year, or what types of writing or clients you'd want to move into, or how you might want to change your rates, or which projects you don't want to do. But when you're feeling overwhelmed, like there's a lot to learn in freelance writing. That's one of the reasons I started this live stream, and one of the reasons that I'm creating a course that I'm going to launch in a few months is just because I feel like there's a lot to learn, and it kind of needs to be drilled down a little bit into bite-sized pieces for people to understand. So there's a lot of complex things that I think you learn through experience by freelance writing. So as you move through your business, you learn these things through experience. You learn how to like avoid certain clients that aren't a fit for you. You learn how to make choices about whether or not, this is working, or, you hate this type of work. But sometimes you just have to experience that. Sometimes you have to actually do things and take action to do it. But there is a lot to learn. So take it step by step. Like do as much as you can on this thing. Do the best that you can and say, cool, I've done the best I can. I'm moving on to the next thing. All right, I've done the best I can right now. I'm moving on to the next thing. Because you can always come back and change it later if it's LinkedIn or your website, or maybe it's your refund policy, or maybe it's your contracts. There's always a way to iterate later on, and really we can only do the best that we can right now. So it's kind of that phrase like do what you can with what you've got, like in your current situation. So I hope that was helpful. I think I popped something else in here. So I have another one from Getty. He asked a good question here. So he says, which resources would you recommend to learn the business side of things, books, videos, or courses? Okay, cool. So for me, learning the business side of things, so books, I like Profit First a lot. Profit First by Mike Malkowitz. It teaches you basically the financial parts of running a business. And it's not just a freelance writing business, like it applies to any business you would run. And it teaches you how to manage the money coming in, how to have enough for taxes, how to actually get profit in your business. So definitely that. I always like Casey Hibbard for case studies. So if you're trying to move your business more towards case studies, I like Casey Hibbard, Hibbard. White Papers, Gordon Graham. So Gordon Graham has a lot of programs about he has a program about writing white papers. I also liked Real Artists Don't Starve by Jeff Goins, I think, or Goins. I think that's who wrote it. But Real Artists Don't Starve is great. It gives you a mindset to kind of work on your business a little bit. I like The Wealthy Freelancer, which I think was by Ed Gandia and Peter Bowerman and some other people. So I really like that because it teaches you how to run a business. I really love The Six-Figure Freelancer by Kelly James Enger. That is a great book because it teaches you a lot of things about actually making six figures. If you're going to do travel writing, I really like Dream of Travel Writing by Gabby Logan. She has a great site and a bunch of courses, like mini courses in there. She also has the travel magazine database so that you can look through all the magazines and try to, figure out like who pays well or who you want to work with, who takes the type of content that you want to write, who works in certain areas of the world. What else? I'm trying to think. I love Jennifer Goforth Gregory. Jennifer Goforth Gregory has a content marketing blog. So when you go to her website, she's got tons and tons of stuff about how to do content marketing, how to move into that, how to price your services. And she has a book too. I think it's just called The Content Marketing Writer, and it's on Amazon. That's a great book too. Those are just off the top of my head. I'm sure I have others. Like I'll have to check back. And then like courses. So I'm just going to do like a little shame-free plug here. I'm coming out with a course in a few months about how to basically, encompass the starting your business and growing your business beyond a certain income amount. So I'm going to release a little bit more about that later on, but it's not only for new freelance writers, but people who are stuck basically and can't make beyond a livable wage as a freelance writer. And it's going to teach them not only the foundation of building a good freelance writing business and the steps they need to take, like concrete steps of do this, and get feedback and information on different things like their website and LinkedIn. But it's also going to teach you how to scale. It's going to teach you how to actually move up beyond just like the feast and famine, beyond I'm just a writer. It actually teaches you to move into the I own a freelance writing business and I actually make real money. I'm not starving. I'm not, kicking it in like a really shitty apartment. Like it's actually going to teach you how to move beyond that. And for me, when I was creating that, it was just kind of, I'm going to pop this off real quick. I just didn't find one course. Like I found many courses that gave you different pieces, but I never really found one course that told me like, cool, here's how to get started. Here's a bunch of building blocks. Here's how to take those building blocks and expand your business. And then after you kind of expand beyond just the beginner stuff, here's how to make real money. Here's how to treat your business like any other business that's a real business, like a cupcake place or I don't know, a bank or I don't know, anywhere else. But it's going to teach people how to scale and actually keep implementing a bunch of principles that help you grow your business. So that's like a little shame-free plug for that. But I've kind of reached the end of the time. I'm going to check if there's any more comments. I'll give you guys one more update and we'll see if we can see Charlotte's shirt. Oh, we can a little bit. Let's see if we'll get her to sit up. Can you show everybody your shirt? Oh, we're so close. So close. Good girl. All right, maybe next time we'll be able to see it. But I just thought they were really great shirts. We got them from Club Huey, and it looks like it's Harry Potter script. Good girl. There you go. Okay, so I'll leave you guys with a little update, and I hope you guys, if I don't see you, I will be here for Black Friday. I'm going to do a quick one and go over a few things. So, I hope you, if I don't, see you, or I hope you have a really good Thanksgiving. I hope you have a nice time with family if you're able to see them. And I hope you kind of start marinating on moving to I own a freelance writing business and that better mindset for 2021. So see y'all later.